Hi there, and welcome to Medical Girl Mystical World. I'm your host, Dr. Julia Spinello. Today, my guest is Amy Willis. Amy is a self-taught, realized healer, intuitive, with one foot in the real world and the other foot in all things metaphysical and esoteric. And she is joining me via Zoom today. Amy, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Now,
So happy to be here.
Yes, I'm so glad. I follow you on Facebook, and you have thousands of followers, and you are just an angel here on earth, I think. And the work that you do is just absolutely incredible. So thank you for being here. And I know that many people who watch our network follow you on Facebook, so I think they're going to be super excited to see this show with you on it. Yay! So
Very excited.
Okay, so I want to just start off from the beginning. How did you get into the work that you do?
Oh, there's so many ways I could tell this story. I guess long story short, it started for me about 8 years ago, and not too long after I had my daughter, I went through quite a geopolitical awakening. I got heavy into healthcare and wellness, and I was raised in a very religious household, and I find that once I kind of broke free of that limitations within that religious structure, I started to see things in a very different light. And then I sort of dove deeply into the spiritual realm, spirit world, energy. I started studying all things energy, became a member of several groups on Facebook with like-minded individuals, and ended up meeting a person who did energy work. This person contacted me and said, "Hey, would you like to have an energy session?" And I was like, "All right, fine." So I remember it was a Sunday afternoon. I linked up with this person over Facebook Messenger, no less, and ended up having a 3-hour energy session that completely changed my entire life.
Wow.
And from that point forward, I started having my own realizations and my own awakenings, and started having more of a deeper intuitive sense of who I was as an energetic being. And a couple of months after that, I woke up on a Friday and my hands were on fire, and my intuition was speaking so loudly to me that this energy was something that was meant to be shared. And I didn't know what that meant, but I just did it anyway, and it's just kind of evolved from there. It started out as in-person healings. Then I started doing it over the internet, and then I did it with groups via Facebook Messenger, and it got too big to do that, so I kind of started doing private session work, and here we are.
That's amazing. Isn't it funny how we have something, an event in our life that kind of switches all of this on? So for you, it was the birth of your daughter, which is actually a happy occasion. That's really good. For me, it was going through cancer, and I know from other people it's usually a traumatic event. So it's nice to hear that it's something that is so beautiful as birth to have that awakening.
Yeah, I remember the day that I did give birth. It was the most meditative experience that I had ever had in my life. And I didn't realize until after the fact how close to death I was. I was eclamptic in pregnancy and didn't know it. And didn't know until after she was born. But I think something within me clicked that day. And after that experience, I'd never had quite a meditative experience like that before. Just so in the zone. And it was just something that just started steamrolling ahead. You know, everything changed from that point forward for me. It was amazing, really.
How did your family react? Because you said you came from a pretty religious family background. Tell me about that?
Well, I was raised in the Mormon church,
Mm-hmm.
and my parents, they went to church also, but they were not heavily into the church.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was just what we did.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't take it super seriously. I actually took it way more serious than the rest of my family.
Mm-hmm.
When I was 12, I chose to be baptized in the church. I was the one who got up at 5 a.m. during high school, went to seminary before school started. And that was all of my own accord. And it was a choice that I made.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to this change in my life and this shift in my life, my parents kind of got away from the church, and so did I in a bigger way, I think. But as far as the religious aspect goes, um, they don't really they don't really look at life through that view anymore,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't either. But they still don't understand quite what it is that I do. They don't really fully embrace it. It is kind of a lonely road to hoe, a lonely road to hoe,
Yeah.
if you will. But they try to understand when I try and talk to them about this type of stuff, but they don't really fully understand it. That's why I'm so grateful and thankful to have such a large community of people online,
Yeah.
because I am from a very small town, and this type of work is a hard sell. It
Yeah.
really is.
So your day job, are you an occupational therapist?
No, actually, I work at a hospital. I've been
Mm-hmm.
here for 16 years, and I am an eligibility specialist and an uninsured patient advocate. So I
Mm-hmm.
help people who don't have insurance.
Oh, wow, that's wonderful. So you're doing work that you're getting paid for, but also you're doing beautiful work outside of
Yeah.
your
It's
typical
something that I
job.
feel good about when I go home, and then I get to do this type of work too outside of the home. So it's a win-win. Yeah.
So, what type of energy work did you have done when you with that 3 hour energy work? Was it a specific modality?
It was, he referred to it as a free form energy work.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't have a name specifically, and um, I didn't really know. I just did it without even thinking.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I guess it was his own type of energy work too, something that he had intuitively been guided to do.
Right. I th-
Yeah.
I'm glad that you mentioned that because I mean there's so many different modalities of energy work. And when I was going through looking at different kinds of energy work, Reiki kind of resonated with me.
Yeah.
It just seemed to kind of go with my flow.
Hmm.
But I learned the principles of it, and then I kind of adapted it into my own um,
Yeah.
what I knew that my gifts were. What do you think about the organization of different energy modalities? Do you think that there needs to be criteria for people to become healers?
No,
No.
no, I don't. I think that that's one of the things about learning about you and your individuality and your uniqueness is
Mm-hmm.
that everyone comes forth in this lifetime with a specific set of gifts.
Mm-hmm.
So when you tune into that, um, and the fact that we are all here to work together,
Mm-hmm.
I may have the gift of doing something that someone else needs in their life, and they may have something that they're uniquely gifted at that they have that I might need in my life. So I feel like there shouldn't be any specific criteria because the needs and the needs of each individual are so vast. I feel like everybody has to have something that somebody else can benefit from,
Yeah,
you know?
I agree with you too because when I was studying this, I have a long history of academia behind me and several degrees and certifications. So when I did this, I came across that the approach of energy healing is very methodical and learning
Yes.
about all this stuff. And then I started to realize, and it was funny because I wanted to do a Reiki share, and when I told the lady that I was learning some of my what do you call it, training long
Mm-hmm.
distantly, she kind of like shunned me, like, you know, no, you can't do that and you have to retake all of your courses. I'm like, no, I know what I'm doing and I know that I'm doing well. And how can you tell me that I can't learn distantly, but you do distance healing? And
Yeah.
it was kind of a shock to me because it was. I mean, she was putting on the, well, you have to do it this way, and that's the only way. So that's why I asked you what you thought about it, because you were given these gifts and you knew how to use them and you didn't have any, instruction on telling you what to do. And I think your message and your story is very important because there are people out there that have these gifts and they think that they have to go through all of these criteria to call
Yes.
themselves a healer.
Yeah, that's been something that's been so frustrating for me on this journey is the idea of legitimacy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's been a roadblock because if you don't have that piece of paper that says you're certified as this, that, or the other, people
Mm-hmm.
have a hard time because of our, you know, social conditioning, really being able to embrace something that doesn't have a title behind it or a degree or certification.
Mm-hmm.
So that has been extremely frustrating, and it's frustrating for me, like you said, knowing that that everybody has the ability to share themselves in such a special way, and that would be something that would be holding them back. That's
Mm-hmm.
frustrating to me, and I hope sooner rather than later, that is a thing of the past. I really do. That's a hope of mine, a dream, actually. That
Yeah.
more people are able to fully embrace who they are.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree with you because coming through that, because I had all these accolades and all these certifications, and I thought that that gave me the legitimacy of the work that I do. And
Hmm.
as I'm going through this, I realized that that's just not important.
Right.
And again, I appreciate you for showing that that people can receive healing, and that you're able to do healing without all of the bells and whistles and the criteria.
Yeah, and I will say this: it wasn't without trial and tribulation.
Mm-hmm.
Coming into the gifts wasn't like an automatic one-off thing. It was over a period of time that I had to really dive deeply and trust myself,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of what anybody else had to say about it. That was one of those things where being authentic and standing in your truth and really going with your intuition and your gut, that's what evolved and helped to like just grow the gift. And it's been a process, and it's completely evolved since day one. It continually changes and expands and grows. And um, they say the only constant is change. So we
Mm-hmm.
have to kind of roll with the changes. So that's something I've been embracing lately, is that the way I've been doing things may not work so much now as they did before. So how can I move forward and continue to grow with those gifts? So
Absolutely. One of the strong themes that you have in your healing and in your blog on your website is Christ consciousness. And I
mm-hmm.
kind of wanted to focus on that during this interview. So, can you please give us your overall concept of Christ consciousness?
Yes. I know there are so many ways to interpret what Christ consciousness can mean. So I'll speak from what it means to me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, as I said before, coming from a very religious background, Christ or Jesus was an individual to be revered in sort of a hierarchical way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and once I learned that everything seems to be pretty metaphorical, that it's not necessarily a person or someone that's better or higher above me, and really embrace the fact that Christ consciousness is actually an energetic. It's a multi-dimensional energy, and it's a multi-dimensional tool that can be used. And I believe that that tool is standing in your truth and in your authenticity, and knowing that we are all equal and that anything that we need or desire is within us. I think really embracing that, and you can call it a belief system, because I believe that belief systems are extremely powerful, especially when it comes to energy. Believing that there is a oneness, and that it is within love, and that we have within us everything that we could possibly search for outside of us. That belief system is so strong, it actually connects us to something greater, a collective energy, a Christ consciousness energy that affords us so many beautiful and positive things in our life: compassion, honesty, truth, self-love, love for one another, a connectedness. I think all of those things are just a culmination of standing in your truth and in your authenticity.
With talking about Christ consciousness, have you seen with the people that you work with, them realizing Christ consciousness because of the work that you've done on them?
From my viewpoint, yes. Whether or not they fully realize that's what it is, if they want to accept the term Christ consciousness or that awareness or that realization, I'm not sure. But from my viewpoint, yes, many people are realizing their truth and standing in their truth, and expressing their authentic selves, and really coming into that awareness and that knowing that we are all connected, and that we share in such a loving and beautiful energy, and that no one is better than any other. That equality aspect of the Christ consciousness, I think more and more people are really coming into that. But yeah, especially those who I have worked with who are a little more spiritually inclined, maybe trying to grow within their gifts, they're coming into that realization for sure. Yeah.
So you do these videos on Facebook maybe a couple of times a week, which I think is fantastic, because people that are going through their week can log on, and you're just basically giving your gift out to anybody that logs on to your site, which is very, very gracious and just so giving of you. How did you start doing that? Or when did you decide to start doing that?
Well, you'd never believe it, but I have a fear of public speaking. Like I said before, I started doing these group energy sessions via Facebook Messenger. So I would put out a call to anyone who wanted to participate, and I would add them to a group chat on Messenger, and we would do it that way. But over time, that became overwhelming. I mean, you can imagine having 30 or 40 people in a group chat. It was just like,
Yeah.
So I think it's been maybe a little over a year that I started doing the live stuff on Facebook. And you can tell the first video was so amateur, and I was so nervous. I just but it helped, But I felt too that was another step, another evolution in the sharing of this energy work. So it just kind of evolved from the little group chats to a way bigger deal. I just felt like I could maybe, the fact that those videos never go away, even if someone couldn't tune in that day at that specific time, that it would still be floating out there in Facebook world. And if someone stumbled upon it, I feel like everybody sees and comes across things in divine timing. So I thought that was a really great way to get more people involved, and maybe get them to thinking if they've never been involved in energy work before. It only takes one time to sort of set that spark. And that's how that evolved for me.
I just think it's wonderful. So you still have, so you do these, but you also do remote healings, or do you do in-person healings as well?
Rarely have the opportunity to do in-person healings.
Mm-hmm.
I do have quite a number of folks, friends who will come to me if they have like a headache or if they're having anxiety or whatever. They know they can come to me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I do private remote energy sessions. Yeah, I just kind of post it on Facebook every once in a while, letting people know I've got time available, and if they
Mm-hmm.
want to have a session to let me know. I'm pretty casual about it all because I do have the day job and I only have a limited amount of time considering I'm a mom. But I like the service to others aspect, and I feel like when I do that, when I make myself available to other people, that I'm helping myself also. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a win-win.
Yeah. So how can people contact you?
I have a website that has my contact information and the information in regards to the session work and the different types of work that I do. And that's at myquantumtouch.wordpress.com
Okay.
/services. I have the Facebook page, Amy Harper Willis, and um, the website's got my Facebook link, my Instagram link, my email. So people can contact me any way they like.
What are your plans for the future?
My dream, ideally, is to eventually do this work full time. But I'm okay with where I'm at, and I think it's important to embrace where we are in the moment. So I don't like to project too far into the future
Mm-hmm.
because that tends to cause me anxiety. But I'm just rolling with it. I'm just rolling with it. I have high hopes for the future. I have high hopes. I hope to be able to do whatever I can to help others in a big way, to the best of my ability.
What is one of the key things that people seek your advice for, and what is your remedy, or what would you tell them to do? For example, anxiety, and then you tell them to do what? But pick what is the key thing that you find that people are asking your services for?
Being an empath,
Mm-hmm.
it's funny, people come to you and spill their guts
Mm-hmm.
on a regular basis. They probably don't even realize it's almost like a moth attracted to a flame.
Mm-hmm.
So the majority of the people who come to me um, are usually needing a sounding board or someone to listen or to let them move energy, just maybe vent or talk through
Mm-hmm.
some type of situation. Maybe it's unconscious or conscious. But I do find that most people who reach out to me need someone to help them work through some emotional situation that they're going through. So I find that a lot, I would say 90% of the work that I do is clearing the emotional body,
Mm-hmm.
whether on purpose or just through a simple conversation.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody contacts me with a problem or an issue, I'll ask a lot of questions. I'll get them to thinking and get them to move the energy on their own, sort of in a really organic type of way. Like I said, I'm not formal at all, and I try to keep it casual, just like you're talking to a best friend.
Yeah.
Just like you're talking to a best friend. Just helping people move the emotion.
How do you keep yourself grounded and protected energetically with all of these people coming to you? What are your self-care practices?
Well, I I don't mean to sound too flighty, but I do know that I have an enormous collective of guides and energies that I work with.
Mhm.
And my specific number one main man is Archangel Gabriel. And I know that he is a protector of my aura And I believe in that. And I believe that belief does keep me from absorbing a lot of energy. I don't find that I get drained energetically when I work with people because I do believe that I am protected. But when my faith starts to waver and my trust starts to waver, I do find that I get a bit ungrounded. So what I like to do is just sleep. I like to sleep. I like to hang out outside in nature. I like to bring it back to reality and really ground myself in this 3D world that we're living in. Do regular day-to-day stuff, watch television. That's how I ground. Spend time with my daughter.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Come back to reality a little bit.
Get out of the ethereal and back into
stop floating and come back to earth for a little while and get balanced and then fly back out there.
It's a nice balance you have. That's wonderful. And I'm glad that you shared on how you do that. That's very cool. Because sometimes with this work, we tend to go so far out there where people...
So easy to do.
It is. It really
so easy to do.
And you're like, wow. And you just keep kind of further out. And it's just like, okay, reel it back in here. Well, Amy, thank you for being on.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pure pleasure.
I am going to ask you 5 questions. Don't be nervous.
Okay.
It's five fast Q&A that I do with all my guests, most of my guests. And it kind of gives people a little glimpse of who you are kind of outside of the work that you do. So I'm going to ask you these questions and you just give me the first thing that comes to your mind. It'll be totally natural and we'll just go with it, okay? What makes you roll your eyes? Questions like this, huh?
No. Intolerance.
Okay. Good. Who's your favorite superhero?
That's a hard one.
It's okay. Take your moment.
Superhero. Can it be like Deepak Chopra?
Jesse says that's a good answer. I think Deepak's a pretty good superhero. We should have the metaphysical superheroes.
Yeah.
We should create that. Okay.
Or Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman's my favorite.
Yeah.
What would be your theme song? Or do you have a theme song?
Oh, gosh. I go back to this song that I did a dance to in a junior Miss pageant in high school called Happy Feet. That would be my theme song, Happy Feet.
Happy Feet, okay. Happy Feet. What word do you always misspell?
Receive.
The I before E is for C. Okay, last one is easy. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Excellent.
Hands down.
Hands down, coffee.
Hands down.
Well, Amy, thank you so much again for joining me.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Okay. And remember, health is not just about medicine. Bye.